going to magnify him at all times. Wow, what an amazing song there from my dear brother Kyle Marshall, who is on the line from Dallas, Texas. I want to say good morning to you, man. Thank you for getting up an extra hour early to join me. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing all right, man. It's not that early. I'm usually up around 6 o'clock every day anyway, so
okay.
This is good. I'm glad to be here. And also, congratulations, or early congratulations on your anniversary coming up and being in radio. Isn't that right?
Yes, for the radio station celebrating 10 years. But for me, Kyle, personally, I am coming up on 28 years of radio. Is that something to glorify God about?
Man, you better give him glory for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We give him the praise and the glory. But what a delight to be able to spotlight you today. I had an opportunity of meeting you a few weeks ago. I heard about you from your father and other people who were talking about you. You know, the funny thing, Kyle, is I was doing a live broadcast when you met me, and they were talking about you need to find and talk to this guy named Kyle Marshall. And I'm like, okay. They said he's going to walk through the door very shortly, and you need to get him on your radio show. So when you came in, we kind of connected, did we not?
Yeah, we did. And I wasn't expecting it, and it was definitely a very pleasant surprise. I appreciate you for allowing me to come on and talk with you a little bit.
Absolutely. So I want people to get an understanding of who in the world, think about it for a moment, Kyle. Who in the world is Kyle Marshall?
You know, I'm your everyday dude, man. You know, I mean, I think I don't separate myself from others. Yes. I think my experiences and my life's walk is very similar to others. Mm-hmm. Me personally, you know, I'm kind of an introvert extrovert, and I kind of coined this term called an intrextrovert.
Wow.
Where, you know, I mean, if you meet me, I'm kind of quiet, you know, and I just kind of observe. I'm very analytical, but when I'm comfortable, you get to see all of me. And from what I hear, I'm a totally different person when it comes to the stage. So, wow. You know, I'm just kind of, you know, I have plenty of energy on the inside, but, you know, it just, you know, it comes out, you know, when it's ready, put it that way. But, you know, love to laugh. From Philadelphia, I'm the pastor, as you mentioned, I'm a pastor's son, so I've been a PK all my life. You know, kind of been in that fishbowl, you understand? Right. So, you know, my mother is a teacher, I have 2 sisters, and actually moved to Texas about 10 years ago to attend seminary, and just never left. My dad wasn't too happy about that, but, you know, he's all right with it now. Okay,
so you left Philadelphia to go to seminary there, is that correct?
I did. I felt God's call to ministry out of undergrad. There's a pastor down here by the name of Dr. Tony Evans, who... you know, I listened to basically throughout my undergrad years, and
sure.
You know, when I felt God's call, I moved down here to attend seminary. I didn't go to his seminary. I didn't go to Dallas Theological. I went to Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, which is part of the Southern Baptist Convention. So, you know, I went there, studied my master's, and did a concentration in apologetics. So, yeah, that started my journey in formal ministry when I moved down here.
Wow, that's amazing. It doesn't fall from the family tree for sure, because your dad is a phenomenal pastor. And go ahead and shout his church out and your dad. Go ahead.
Yeah. Reverend K. Marshall Williams Sr., that's what he goes by. So K. Marshall Williams Sr. in the Nicetown section of North Philadelphia, name of the church is Nazarene Baptist Church. That is my home church. Shout out to Nazarene Baptist Church. I love y'all. Thank you so much for supporting me, and I hope to make you guys proud as I, you know, serve as an agent of change for the kingdom.
Good. Let's talk about this journey, Kyle. Kyle, I understand why you came to Dallas, Texas. It's a lot of amazing churches and talent down there, and you've had the opportunity to work with Kirk Franklin and meet him. We'll talk about that, but let's talk about your musical journey here. You had the talent apparently for quite some time, and the ability that God has given you, because you sound amazing on your single. Let's talk about this journey of gospel music with you now that you're in Dallas, Texas, where so many icons are. Let's talk about this journey. Tell people about this journey, how you got to where you are right now and where you're going, because God is doing some great stuff with you, man.
Yeah, it's been kind of a whirlwind, you know. I mean, when I moved down here, well, let me just say this. I didn't start singing until I was 18.
Okay.
So, you know, growing up, it's not something that I enjoyed doing, you know, and I was kind of anti the stage and anti being in front of everybody, because the expectation, you to pass the son, the kids is on display doing something, and so I kind of shied away from that. My sister is an actress and a singer, and she loves that. For me, I didn't like that out the gate, so I didn't actually start singing until I encountered other individuals my age worshiping the Lord from an authentic space, and I didn't get that, at least amongst my peers growing up, So, it was at that time that I made the decision to, kind of feel out this whole music thing. I was the chaplain of the University of Delaware Gospel Choir for a few years, and my passion for music grew. I'm going to just be honest with you. I didn't know nothing.
Wow.
I mean, I think I think back on that time, and some of the questions I used to ask, just with fundamentals in music, and I was like, man, I was a clean slate. So the passion, kind of the catalyst was started then. When I moved to Dallas, with the expectation of being in a pastor in some form or fashion.
Right.
I didn't necessarily want to be a senior pastor or lead pastor. I wanted to just kind of be involved in ministry, maybe, youth or something like that. That's kind of what I thought. And the more I began preaching, the more I realized I didn't like it. And it wasn't necessarily that I didn't like, just, teaching and speaking. It's just, I wasn't as passionate. And as I discovered that, this music thing just started to grow. And, I'm a sponge. I have some good friends down here. One of my producers on my record, his name is Caleb Sean McCampbell. He actually co-produced Best Thing I Never Had for Beyonce.
Okay.
He is responsible for just my musical knowledge, and he didn't necessarily take me under his wing, but I just listened and grew and led worship and made mistakes and sounded terrible. I did all of those things just to, I followed the passion. So it may not have been skillfully there at first, but the repetition of ministry, the repetition of having to seek the Lord and listen to the Lord for worship sets and worship songs and arrangements and just positioning of exhortation in ministry, all those things I had to, go through the training. And I kind of count my 20s as that experience. I'm 33 now, just had a birthday.
Happy birthday to you, man. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm getting old. So I kind of count my 20s as that experience, being okay with, I wasn't okay at the time, but, making the mistakes and listen, having to go back to the drawing board and say, God, what did I do wrong? What's next? Or am I in a good space? I mean, do they like me? All those different challenges that come along with just being a human being doing ministry.
Wow.
So, I think that journey for me now puts me in a place from a musical perspective where, about, how long ago was it? I'm 33, so about when I was 30, about 3 years ago, having served in ministry for about 7-8 years, I just kind of hit a spiritual slump. I was tired, and I was burnt out, and we had just done our vacation Bible school at Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship, and I was just spent. I didn't know what I was doing, where I was spiritually, what I was supposed to do next, and I called my father. I didn't know. I didn't have any other person to call. There was nothing else in my mind. Nobody else came to mind at that time to call. Right. I called my father and I said, Daddy, I feel like I'm lost. I mean, it's not that my faith in Jesus Christ was waning. I just didn't know where I was. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing, and my passion for ministry had depleted. I was done, and he just kind of counted it to me as, just that spiritual fatigue and just, overworked. I was working 2 jobs at the time. I was still worship pastoring at Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship, but I also had a full-time job, so I was working 65, 70 hours a week. I was just tired. And the funny thing about what my father did, and I did, when you have when you go see your pastor, you're expecting him to just throw the Bible at you. Most people feel that way, where it's just kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go see the pastor. He's gonna tell me what God says, and you actually leave, full, but you're just kind of like, okay, I don't know, I got to make sense of all this now. My dad didn't do that to me this time, and it surprised me. He just had a relationship with me. He called me every day. He Skyped me every day.
Wonderful.
Or once a week, and just kind of built that relationship up. And the way I felt on the inside was, not only was he honoring my relationship and him respecting me as a man, he was also honoring the fact that, from a biblical perspective, I had been to school for all this. So he wasn't necessarily harping upon, what you don't know. He took a practical approach to me, and he loved on me. And the more he loved on me, the more it drove me to have my prayer time, the more it drove me to devotional, the more it drove me just to, continue talking to the Lord and having that vertical relationship. And he let me know just through my father that it was okay to be where I was at that time.
Right.
One thing that Paul, did in 1 Corinthians, he talked about, just kind of paraphrasing, when he was, around Jews, he spoke like the Jews, he was around Gentiles, he gave an at-home experience to the people he was around. And in that moment, my dad didn't give me what he gives, maybe some of the church members or, the objective individuals.
Right.
I mean, you would think that he'd hold it very close to the chest with me being his son.
Exactly.
But he didn't do that. He showed me relationship. He acknowledged where I was and fed me, where I was. And what I needed at the time wasn't, him sitting me down and, giving me a systematic theology lesson. I needed a hug. You know what I mean? So he gave me a hug from Philly in Dallas, and it encouraged me to seek, my relationship with the Lord again. And in that moment around July, I felt the Lord say, I want you to do this project.
Wow.
And I'm sure for those that may be listening, those artists that may be listening, doing a record is much different than getting up on stage.
I know that's right.
It's much different, in that scenario, we have an opportunity to feed from the crowd. We have the opportunity to experience the energy of the room, whereas, when you're recording, it's you and that microphone.
That's right. And
your experiences and your willingness to expose yourself and let it translate through the music. Right. And that's not something that I was, accustomed to having to do. I learned how to build a wall leading worship. I knew what to say on stage. I knew the target things that would stir the people's hearts, at least in the moment. I knew how to arrange the music to get certain responses, because all of that, especially in black church, means a big, it's a big deal, part of the experience. But for me, in that moment, the Lord said, I want you to do this record. I've been writing songs for about, 5 years. I had about 30 to 50 songs complete. And then, of course, thousands of ideas. And, in that moment, I said, okay, I'm going to listen. And that's, the moment in which I made the decision to transition out of, formal worship leading for a time to try this artist thing.
That is incredible. And thank you for sharing that story and information, because somebody will be blessed by that. So this song, 34 Magnify. Let's talk about this stemmed from what experience the Lord gave to you. The energy that is projected in this song is amazing. So I know that you're something else in a live performance.
I have a friend that, and I mean, just if you understand me, my friend tells me I just kind of this alter ego, because if you see me and we're just sitting down watching the football game, I'm chilling, relaxed back, right. But when I'm on stage, I guess I have a little fire.
Yeah, you get that juice. You're juiced up.
Yeah. I kind of get in that space. Now, Magnify, what I wanted it to be, I wanted to have a song that was that accurately displayed what I had held back on the inside.
Right.
I wanted a song that said, hey, my name is Kyle, and this is how hard I love Jesus.
Yeah.
And not only that, I wanted to have that song and bring in others with me. So the top of that song where you have that chant, those moments in God where you are so excited, so appreciative, of what God has done in your life, where you don't really have any words. All you want to do is you just got to get this yell out.
Right.
You got to get this yell out. And so I wanted a corporate worship that was not just a true, gospel song, but that that translated to other individuals, the contemporary Christian realm, so that all ethnicities and backgrounds could hear this song, because music is a universal language. They could hear this song and say, you know what, I get where you're coming from. And so I wrote a song based on Psalm 34. And Psalm 34, basically just that active witness saying, when I sought the Lord, when I called on him, when I asked him for help, he answered me. And before taking care of the scenario, he took care of my insides. He released me from fear.
Wow.
And my life verse is actually, Philippians chapter 4. And it talks about being anxious for nothing, or the idea of not being overly concerned with something, but by way of your communication with God, he instills a peace that you may not always understand.
Yeah.
Obviously we all want our circumstances to change. We all would love to be at that next level, or to be out of the slump that we're in.
Yeah.
But time and time again, what we're seeing in Scripture is that God likes to take care of the insides first. He likes to take care of your heart. Because if he has your heart, he can change your mind, he can change your sight, and what's around you will not have the clout or the real estate in your heart that it once had, because you've now substituted it with him. Yeah. And so I wanted to have a song that just, spoke, where I could look at somebody else and say, let me hear, it's like the old testimony service, except it's not formal anymore, at 9 o'clock in the morning before the 10:30 service. It is now saying, hey, I'm going up to you with this song. Mm-hmm. And if you're singing this song with me, then I know you're carrying a story with you that resonates with you and will resonate with me, and we can worship the Lord together. So I just kind of wanted to find a song that released that energy and that thanksgiving, and do so, on a corporate level.
Great. So when can we expect the full project of this entire CD?
I've been kind of going back and forth on the time, just because I want to make sure it's right. But I believe that we will have The Power of the One, the EP. It's just going to be a 5-song EP, including Magnify, by the end of the first quarter of next year.
I know all those great songs that you've been writing, and some of those songs that you kept hitting, they're going to come out on this CD. I know that's right.
I'm extremely excited about it. I'm working with some great people. Hopefully we'll have some features on there. Will be very exciting for you guys. Still kind of working that out. But yeah, these are the songs of my heart. These are the songs of my life. And, we're talking joy, pain, heartache, thanksgiving, just straight up happiness. And, we'll see what God does. I mean, this is a new journey for me, and I'm just hoping that people will be able to look at my journey, know that I'm just that regular dude, and I'm living life just like you are, have my own story. I don't necessarily come from a position of pain in life, but I do have a story, and hopefully you'll be able to see what God did. I mean, the fact that, he allowed me to raise $10,000 on the internet to do this project was just tangible proof on the back end that he had a plan and he had a purpose for me. So it wasn't about the money, it was about the plan and the purpose, and I kind of want people to be able to grasp that as this kind of comes to fruition.
Right, you actually flowed right into it. You must have been reading my mind, because I wanted you to talk a little bit about the funding aspect, because a lot of independent artists that I talk to are just broke. They have a serious problem, Kyle, with fundraising and just getting the monies that they need. Even to have an interview with me, they have a problem. And it's a business, and we offer a great service to people. But can you just talk a little bit about, and this is your time, man, so I'm giving you this time, that artists need to invest in themselves, especially these independent artists. We're not talking about the big national artists that are making bukus of money, but they started somewhere too. But I want you to speak to the hearts of these independent artists, because I commend you, after we had a conversation, that you raised $10,000. How did you do it, Kyle? Please tell me. How'd you do it?
Well, let me just start by saying this. I'm broke. All right, let me just say that. This is not. I'm not telling a story of, I raised $10,000 and from that, all this money came. I still am living, paycheck to paycheck in putting this together. God's taking care of me in my personal life, but this record, it didn't stop there. So I may have raised $10,000, but my whole process is not costing $10,000, if you understand what I'm saying. It was the catalyst that got me started. So, my perspective is that, like I said, I mean, money is an issue on this end, and it's an issue for most artists out there. You're not going to find too many artists that are, on the upper echelon or the highest percentage, when it comes to royalties or just even starting their process, especially indie artists. It's difficult. And I think the challenge with that I had to deal with on the inside is that just because God is birthing something in me, and just because God has, impregnated me with a truth that's going to be communicated in this way, it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody around me is going to automatically hop on board with every aspect of this project. No, it's going to take work in some areas.
Right.
So for me, it was a morale boost. It was a confirmation, when I raised the $10,000. Now, what I did was, and it was just strictly a faith move. So in July, I made the decision to build a website. And just to kind of be very, if I can be candid with you,
go right ahead. Absolutely.
I spent about $2,700 putting together videos for this website, building the website, doing different things on site. I had custom music made for it because I said, hey, if I'm going to ask people to sow into this ministry, I have to find some way to demonstrate, my passion, just tangibly, hopefully my purpose will communicate through this, and then give them, a view of what I'm doing. So, I went online and built all that myself, and, to God's glory, I'm able to do all those things by myself. I did video post-production for a while and did videos for people and things of that nature. So I did all that myself, and I just I just stamped it with a prayer. I was like, I was scared out of my mind. I was just like, what if I am not affirmed in this?
Right.
I can put this out of here, and I'm saying I want $10,000, and I come up with $250. That it would have crushed me.
Right.
And it's not to say that there are not individuals out there that will not experience that very same thing, but it's part of the risk. And if we can put it in a very secular way, just a regular, normal, everyday language, it is a risk. But faith is a risk.
Right. Right.
It is a risk, especially to the flesh, where, we as individuals, we're looking for that affirmation. We're not looking for rejection. And just speaking for me,
Sure.
Rejection is a very difficult thing for me. I mean, I listen to everything everybody says, how they say it and what tone of voice they say it. That's just the type of person I am. And if I hear something that's a little tinge off, I'll take it as rejection. As opposed, and so, if I do it in the little things, I'm thinking about this project, which is a big deal. I'm putting myself out there, and I'm literally standing before social media and all my friends and my sphere of influence naked. That's what I'm doing.
Wow.
This is what I have, and this is what, I believe God's called me to do. And the funny thing about it was that God gave me the grace and gave me the confirmation, and He affirmed it. And it didn't, it wasn't overnight. I mean, it took me about 5 months to raise $10,000.
Okay.
And so it was just, and it wasn't a lot of people either. It wasn't like I had to get a slew of people. I think I raised $10,000 with maybe about 300, but somewhere between 300 to 400 people donating.
That's great. That's great.
So it wasn't a slew of people. I had some big donations, and I had some great encouragement. And I thank you for bringing this up, because even in my process now, I have to draw from that, because there are new challenges now, just to think about how, God, he made this possible.
Yeah.
So at least for me, it was a faith move.
Yeah.
And I took what I had, and I took what I could do, and I laid it before Him. I gave Him my best. I gave Him my able. I didn't give Him my cane. I didn't withhold, and do this and do this. I gave Him my able. I gave Him the best of what I had in that moment. I said, God, the snapshot of my life is I can do this well, do this all right, and do this all right, but I'm trusting you to make this happen if you want me to do it.
Absolutely.
And He did.
And you had other people that were joining you, the other singers. You were telling me when we had some other conversations, you were able to pay them and do what you had to do. And it's really great. Yeah. It's really great.
And that part of it is something that I take pride in.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to musicians, I'm not always drawing on relationship.
Right.
And that's not the way that I operate, because at the end of the day, we all have to live, and very candidly speaking, we all got to make some money.
Yeah, it's a business.
So for me, if I'm drawing on relationship, it's not going to be at the expense of letting you know tangibly that, I appreciate you. Now, I understand that, like, for instance, if I just kind of throw it out there, I have 5 songs to do, and somewhere between $600 to $800, per instrumentalist that I had play on it for whatever, and that's low.
Yeah.
That is a low figure, but for me, it was the honesty of saying, hey, this is what I have. What are you willing to do in this scenario where I can get your all, where you're not thinking about it,
right,
and you feel honored, but at the same time, I know you're doing me a favor because I'm not able to pay you what X, Y, and Z can pay you. What works for you? And I did that with my singers, and I did that with my band, and the blessing was that they were willing to work it out. I had one friend who actually just had her live recording last night. Her name is Candy West. She's phenomenal. she came up to me and, she offered herself to me and said, hey, I'll help you out, do whatever you need. And I know that this is, an indie artist approach, so I'm aware of all that. And you just got to lay it before people and lay your heart before people and just let the Lord take care of the rest. I mean, for all I know, somebody's saying no, somebody could say no, and you being okay with the fact that, this person, your desire may not work in this area, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the Lord's not going to answer the prayer in another way. So It's just kind of staying dynamic, staying fluid, and staying before the Lord, and asking him to make a way.
Absolutely, and your integrity. I just hear in my spirit your integrity is the top, and I respect you tremendously because talking with you and getting to know you as a person, it sounds like to me that you handle your business correctly, and that's important for a lot of independent artists to know. I meet a lot of them. I talk to a lot of them, Kyle. They don't handle their business correctly. They are in so much debt because they owe singers and musicians because they didn't do it right from the beginning. And as a business person that I am and been in business for years and still in business, I lead by example. And I tell people that you have to invest in yourself and do it with integrity. I talk about this in my broadcast manual about, you sell yourself and you sell your business so people believe in you. Yep. That's why it wasn't difficult for you to get those 300 people to donate and give $10,000 because you invested in yourself. And that's extremely important.
And I had to choose, and that for me, that's the best way to believe in what God's doing.
Yep, exactly.
Is to honor everybody else around you. So whether it's from the donation process, whether it's having the check on time, or one of the things. This is one of the things I did strategically, and it's very small, but it did my heart well, and I was hoping that it did the same. So I gave at least the singers, I gave them their stuff up front. I said, here, I trust you.
Awesome.
And it was just, I'm not saying that that's always the best business move, but in that moment, I felt like, especially with vocalists, see, the challenge with vocalists is that vocalists are vocalists are often overlooked.
Right.
And they're underpaid.
Right.
And so, it's not to say my situation was any greater where I was able to give them a slew of money, but I could at least tell them up front, hey, this is what I can do for you. Are you willing to do it? Okay, great. And I'm going to take care of you here. And that was just a ministry opportunity to them to say, I acknowledge the space that you're in.
Yes.
This is my first time doing it, and I want to demonstrate to you how serious I am how serious and how appreciative I am of you in that moment. Now, I didn't do that maybe with some other people because, obviously, there's a business aspect to it.
Right.
But, those are just some of the things that I had to be aware of, at least getting started.
Yeah.
And, I'm still learning. I know that there are some things that I'm not going to be able to do from a legal perspective and things of that nature, very much aware of that. But, there were ministry opportunities for me being a novice in this area, especially with the intimidation of asking industry singers to help me out.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much. I mean, sitting down with the, some of the Grammy individuals that I've had opportunities to work with, sitting down with people that have been on Grammy records, it can be very intimidating to ask that. So, all of that kind of plays a role. So I saw this just as much as of a ministry opportunity internally and being faithful through the process, as opposed to just waiting for everything to be done and saying, hey, here's the Power of the One EP, it's done, and look what God did. No, I want to say this is what God did through every step of this process. That's my heart.
Awesome words, Kyle. Real quick, I want you to mention, I'm going to let you give all your social media out, and then we're going to let you go. It's a delight to be able to have this one-on-one conversation with you. Can you talk about your relationship and interaction or meeting with Kirk Franklin, who's a wonderful person? He's poured into my radio station for a commercial before, but can you talk a little bit about your relationship with him and how that impacted your life in your musical journey?
Yeah. The one thing that I thank the Lord for with regards to him is I didn't know him as an artist first.
Right.
When I moved down here, I was sitting in my pastor's living room, and I see this guy, around my height, maybe a little shorter, coming in the back door.
Right.
I'm like, who's this? And he walks in the door, and I don't get starstruck, but in that moment, my eyes got big, and this was probably around 2005.
Okay.
And, over the years, it took about 3 years before the Lord just allowed us to begin building a relationship. I have another good friend of mine, it's his best friend. His name is John Drummond. He used to be a Olympic sprinter for the U.S. Olympic team.
Well, let me stop you right there. Hold on. Let me stop you right there. Do you know that I know John Drummond very well? I know him personally.
Do you?
Yes, indeed.
He has a church. So you've been over to, I think it was formerly called Noble Memorial.
Of course. His father was, yes, absolutely. You tell John Drummond, is he still in Dallas?
Yes, he is, but he's always in Philly because he's still pastoring up.
I know, he's got to get with me. When you see him again, you tell him you were with Simone Malone. He's probably listening to this now, but go ahead. Yeah. And so I started hanging out with them in 2008. So, we became friends, and then on the back end, music became a part of it. So I actually had the opportunity just to kind of sit through, two and a half of his records. Wow.
And the way that I am is that I'm just a sponge. So in my understanding, and this being my first attempt doing my record, I had just the honor and the privilege to be around him and his team and learn the ins and outs of how this works from a production standpoint.
Sure.
Obviously, it's a lot different when you're doing it yourself because there's emotions running through it. There's the creative block. There's the spiritual aspect to it. But at least carrying it out, I had a great foundation just based on watching him work and watching and listening. Listening to songs. Sometimes he would call me, and just kind of talk to me about, what's happening with his music.
Sure.
And, I'm just listening. Of course, I'm being a friend, but I'm listening and I'm gleaning.
Right.
It's such an invaluable opportunity. And that I've had just on that side of it. But I'm privileged to call him my older brother. I'm so excited for what he's doing now in this particular record and how he's choosing to penetrate this culture. I know it's a very challenging space, and I just, for anybody that's listening, just pray for Kirk Franklin, because what Kirk Franklin's doing through this Losing My Religion record is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think that, this will open some doors, especially for the Christian, to reconcile in some ways with a culture that feels like we are we've been condescending. We look down upon them as opposed to saying, hey, we are the same beggar trying to show other beggars where to get bread.
Yeah, great information. Now go ahead and give all your social media information so folks can follow you. This song is available for download. Is that correct? Go ahead and give all that information because they're going to hear the promo next. Go ahead.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you guys, going ahead and listen to this. You can go and download the music on iTunes, Google Play. It is streamable as well on whatever you choose to listen to. It's out there. The song is, again, 34 Magnify by Kyle Marshall. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at I am Kyle Marshall. I am Kyle Marshall. And, just let me know what you think about the interview. Hit me up. Let's have a conversation. I am not unapproachable. Please just have a conversation. We'd be more than love to talk with you, talk about what's happening in your ministry, and just kind of build relationship there. So again, I am Kyle Marshall. Hit me up.
Great. Now, give everybody your church information where you fellowship. So if they're in the Dallas area, touring or visiting, they can stop at your place of worship and enjoy a great service. Go ahead. Sure.
I'm going to shout two churches, actually. Sure. The church that I led ministry at for 8 years is Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship. Dr. Tony Evans is the pastor. Yes. He is a phenomenal pastor and minister of the gospel. That is the church where I served at. And I currently go to a church called Shoreline Dallas, where Pastor Earl McClellan is the pastor. A very dynamic, diverse worship setting that's built on a contemporary kind of Christian type of worship, both extremely community-oriented, service-oriented. I think you'll love them.
Awesome. Now, real quick before I let you go, you can give some more shout-outs because I know you're quite loved there in Dallas and Philadelphia, and you will be coming home for Christmas, so we're excited about that.
I haven't been home for Christmas in 3 years. I need my mama's Christmas.
We're looking forward to that too.
Yeah. So you say I got shout outs? Oh,
yeah,
I got shout outs. Okay.
Sure.
Nazarene Baptist Church again.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I have not been home enough, and yet you've still loved me. Same. So I appreciate you. Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship. I am thankful for your allowing me to sow into the ministry and minister to you. Shoreline Dallas, thank you so much for just embracing me and showing me love as I kind of work through this new stage in life, which is very difficult for me. For all my close friends, I'm not going to name names because I'm going to forget somebody, but you know who you are.
Yes.
I love you all from the bottom of my heart. And to those that are listening that have the opportunity to hear this record, I'm doing this as unto the Lord, and I'm doing it for you. And as much as I can, I'm going to make this about the Lord and about you and not about me. So just continue to pray for me that God would continue to build a selfless nature in me, that, I can, speak to you and your ministries as well as those around the world if the Lord gives me an opportunity to. Thank you so much for listening. 34 Magnify. I hope you love it.
Wonderful. Kyle, thank you so much for joining me right here on FM HDMS. Tell everybody what you think of our radio station and the Feel Good Band. Go ahead.
You know what? I think this radio station is absolutely wonderful to have someone that is so passionate for God and passionate to make sure that the message of the Lord is sent out all over the world in different venues, different avenues. I've heard cooking individuals on here, bakers and singers. I've heard everybody on here. To have somebody that is so passionate about the work of the Lord and spreading that through the nation is absolutely wonderful. What this station is doing, FM HDMS is doing, is absolutely wonderful. And Simone Malone, you are the man.
Thank you, Kyle. Listen, I want to tell him right now, Kyle's going to be in Philadelphia for the Christmas holiday, and we're going to have Kyle live in the studio co-hosting with me. So get ready, buddy. You're going to sit on the other side of the studio. What you think of that?
I'm looking forward to it, man. Let's do it.
Okay, have a great one. Happy Thanksgiving. This is going to rebroadcast on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, actually, my show from 9 a.m. until 11. And real quick, just say hello to everybody that can see me but hear your handsome voice there in Dallas, Texas. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch you there. What did you say?
I said say hello one more time as on the live video to people that can see me but hear your handsome voice from Dallas. Go ahead.
You know what? What's going on, everybody? I'm so excited to be here on FM HDMS Radio. Love you. Looking forward to having some music out to you here in the future. God bless you.
Okay, have a great